guys, and welcome back to ECAfrica Talks. We hope that you guys have been enjoying our podcast this far. We've so loved having different guests on and learning about different industries. So if that is something that you enjoy, please like, share, subscribe, share it to a friend of a friend. Also comment down below. We really like seeing what you guys think about the episode, and if you have any other questions for entrepreneurs that we're going to have on the show. Today we have somebody I'm actually really interested to learn about his industry because it is so far away from what I know. So we're going to have an entrepreneur who's doing really dynamic things in a space that can be really closed off or seem a little bit intimidating. So please help me welcome Mthokozisi. There we go.
That's perfect.
So close.
I think you got like 99%.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you got it. Don't worry.
Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah.
So
thank you for welcoming.
Something we like to do on ECAfrica, because we always say you guys advocate for yourselves, and I think that's just the best way.
Yep.
We like to ask our guests to give us a quick little snippet of who you are and maybe a little bit of what you do.
Okay, so we are Lebolex. My name is Mthokozisi Shangase. I am the managing director of Lebolex. So Lebolex is a business that operates in the fleet management space. So we've been in operation for about 11 years now. We started the company in 2013. There's 3 of us in the directorship. We've got vast experience in the fleet industry, from managing contracts such as your City of Joburg contract. We were the first to usher that in through another company that one of our partners used to work for. One of our latest projects that we did in 2020, which was managing the Airports Company South Africa contract, so we are fleet management as a whole. We take from the vehicle purchasing all the way to the asset disposal. So we take you right through there. We manage that asset for you in terms of repairs. So which means it's imperative that we identify dealerships, service providers that think like us in terms of the quality management and how we treat our customers in terms of giving a good service delivery. They always say fleet is so small because we always hop from one job to another. We always run into each other, so that's Lebolex, you know.
You guys give a holistic approach, it sounds.
Holistic approach, yeah. So all the way to disposal, because your disposal is just as important as your procurement, because you must buy an asset which is very much wanted by the market. Right. So you keep to your brands such as your Toyota, your Nissans, your Fords, because those assets are worth something at the end of their lifespan. You can still get quite a lot of your money back, because if you don't price it correctly, you price yourself out of the market, but you also don't want to put too much of so with fleet, especially from a full maintenance leasing perspective, you want to price your asset, or you want to give a pricing, because you will charge them monthly. Your customer, you'll charge monthly. You procure the asset for them and you manage it for them. They don't want to worry about anything. All they want to do is drive their car. and that's it. And it's doing the thing that it needs to do. You service it when you want to service it. You make sure. So the one way in which we make sure that happens is from the procurement part. You procure a vehicle that is worth something to you, that has value, that will do the job, that is fit for purpose, which is very important. You buying a vehicle, say for the Kruger National Park, you don't want to buy a 4x2 or 2x4, whichever way you want to say it. You don't want to buy a vehicle that doesn't have 4x4 capability because it'll get stuck. It's not fit for purpose. So you'd want to buy a 4x4 which would do the job that you need it to do at that point. But it won't really make much sense to have a 4x4 in an urban area. So you might as well give them a normal bakkie then. So you always buy an asset that is fit for what the client needs.
I always love speaking to people, especially on our show, who are in completely different industries from me, because the way each of you speaks about your industry is so in-depth with so much knowledge. And it's making me just realize, as entrepreneurs, you kind of have to know your business inside and out, but also the industry as a whole, watching things change, pivoting when needing. And obviously we'll speak about you guys in COVID. But just before we get there, why did you want to go into fleet management? Why did you want to go into entrepreneurship? So can you talk us through your journey of how you ended up here?
So with me, it's a very very much bred to do this. So my dad, who is also one of our partners, is also one of the owners of the business. He was always in fleet management. So he worked for United Pharmaceutical Distributors. He was the fleet manager for their fleet regionally. So I used to always, when I was 9, 10 years old, when I would walk and go with him on the weekends to his offices and watch him work and do all these things and managing people, telling people how to do this and do that. So I always just paid attention. And so I always watched him manage people, manage assets, and then he moved over to a company called ECAfrica, and there he managed the city of Joburg. So I was always with him on the weekends, just watching him managing. It's about 4,000 vehicles, 4 to 6,000 vehicles that at any given time, and he would manage them so well. But I would watch him, so I just spent hours just being in his presence, watching him have meetings and so I was bred for it. so I don't feel like I had much of a choice in fleet because it was something I've always been around. So he gave me so much knowledge, and I just didn't feel like I needed to put that to waste. So even with my first job, we were managing Transnet, short-term rentals before I joined Lebolex. I was at another company where we were managing Transnet, and we're doing the short-term rentals and the full maintenance leasing there. And so I got the opportunity to learn so much because it was such a small business. There was only about 7 of us, which we had to manage about 2,000 vehicles at the time. And so I was in operations. I got to learn about financing in terms of billing, to know about, procurement, maintenance, and all. So I spent those 2 years just learning. But there was always a desire in me that I needed to open up my own business. So while I was there, I was just looking up how do I pivot and open up my own business, and what would it take for me to actually break into the industry. At the same time, I'm not the only one having these thoughts. Alfred, which is also my father, and Maria, who's the other business partner, they were also having these thoughts of how can they also just start this business. So they started it before me. I was still working at my previous job. They started the business, but it wasn't really moving. They started it. We got a few jobs here and there in terms of vehicle repairs, fixing up trailers and all that. So that was our entrance into the industry from a vehicle maintenance perspective. We didn't really get too much of the fleet management side of it, what we specialize in, but we got an opportunity to repair vehicles. So that's how we broke into the industry. We saw an opportunity there, that there was a lack of companies, especially black female-owned companies that were in the vehicle maintenance part of the industry. So that's how we found our opening into the industry of fleet management. So once we built up enough of our reputation in the vehicle maintenance space, built up a nice clientele such as your Escoms, Imperial, Barlow World, or we had those as some of our clients, and that's how we were able to maneuver into the industry.
That is so cool, because we were speaking about pivoting actually just before we get into just before the show.
Yeah.
And I am so captivated by your story because I'm from a family business.
Oh, wow.
And I'm generationally the second generation.
Yeah.
And I don't get to speak to a lot of people, especially people of color like myself, who are in that next phase and are not starting by themselves.
Yeah.
And so before we speak about Lebolex and what you guys are doing and the importance of it, I'm just so intrigued about hearing your story about working in a family business. Obviously, you work with your dad. I heard you call him by his first name. I call my mom by her first name. That always shocks people. And so what is that dynamic like when you're coming in to a space that obviously he has dominated? I find the same way with Vanessa. Sometimes entering into their space where you have these new ideas and you're like, please, let's do this. And they've had years of experience, that's the one thing. And then the other thing is that people look at you as the son of this person. So the legitimacy of you sometimes is questioned. 100%. How do you navigate that?
You know, he makes it so much easier for me, especially because he always asked for my input. Even when I was still 15, 16 years old, he would just, you know, throw these scenarios in my ear and be like, hey, what would you do in this situation? So then I'd give him an answer and he'd be like, okay, but this is how I would handle it. And then I would like, okay, no, so I understand that. But then you'd always be willing to hear what my ideas were, which was quite nice. But we always try to separate the dynamics of father-son, because when we're in business, we try and keep it as professional as possible, especially when we with other people. Obviously, when we're amongst each other, it's still, you know, father and son. But he always respected my opinion in whatever matters that we would bring to the table. He always asked for my inputs. You know, he is a master in the industry. A lot of people come to him for advice. He's helped so many people develop systems, fleet management systems that we use today, that the industry uses today. He helped develop quite a few of them. And so he's always been that person that is very open to share that knowledge. So I think once you get over the fact that, you know what, you're probably always going to be known as his son for now, but you get over that and then you start understanding, okay, I need to learn. How much can I learn? How much can I extract from him? And then you take that and then you develop your own ideas, which he's very much willing to. So even pivoting from the vehicle maintenance part of it, now we're doing tires. Nice. So we're doing supply of tires. We do that nationally. So we supply tires nationally through a contract called the RT69. So we apply to government nationally. And we're able to achieve that because, you know, we came with these ideas, that, you know, you look at this tender and you're just like, why can't we go for this? Why can't we go for these kind of contracts? If you don't put your head in the ring, you'll never get it. So I came up with those. So I'm very forceful in terms of, no, I want us to expand in terms of our thinking, because when you rely too much on one thing, and that doesn't work out, then you don't have a plan B, then that's when your business will fail. 100%. So I put it in their minds very early on that, you know, we can't just do fleet, or we can't just do repairs. We need to see what else we can do in the market, in the industry, what we know. Also expanding a little bit into other industries. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, so he's. I think that dynamic of him allowing me to be free to think of the ideas or the direction that we want to take the business into, because he understands that I'm probably going to take over the business over the next year or two. So he needs to know that it's in capable hands. So that's why he gives me that rein.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's always just so interesting to speak about the transparency of it. So I'm sure you guys are similar to us in that it is open knowledge that you are being reared for this position, right? That you're being bred for this position. But I mean, you speak about being 9 and looking at him managing, looking at the fleets, looking at how he's doing things. And so I always said to people, as much as like, yeah, okay, fine, I'm going into my family business, having the perspective of looking at everything you've done in the past means that I have new ideas, new ways of thinking. And I mean, what a privilege is it that we get to work so closely with these people that have so much knowledge. And I'm sure it's the same for you guys, that there are sticky moments, or like, we're just having dinner, like that's what we're doing right now. But I mean, what a privilege. And I think that it's, I'm doing my PhD, and almost the majority of companies around the world are family businesses because of this, because you can transfer skills through, because nobody will care about your business as much as you care about it, and because there is a nuance of working with people that you trust, that you're almost more willing to take a risk because you know you're going to fall back with people that you know. And so I just think that's very interesting.
100%. Especially in this, when you look at all the most successful companies, you look at your German automobile companies, you look at even most of the businesses that provide your makeup, they all family-owned businesses. And so it's very important to pass down that knowledge. And like you said, no one will care about your business more than you do. And I don't take it for granted, the privilege that we share in terms of having a parent that we grew up watching in that position of managing people and stuff, because we know that, especially for a country like ours, a lot of the people that grew up, they didn't grow up seeing their parents in a position of authority. Yeah. So it's important that we recognize that privilege, because it didn't happen for most people, and which is why it shapes your thinking, the way that you see the world, the way that you see people. What do you do with that authority? What do you do with that privilege that you've been given to manage people? It teaches you how to humble yourself, humility in terms of being of service to people, which is the main thing, I think, for me. How do you treat your employees? I think that's very important. The things that you learn from watching him. When I'm learning from watching him, I look at how he treats people, and he's always treating from someone that can't do anything from him, from the worker that, bringing him tea, that is the security at the gate, when he's walking in, everyone gets the same treatment from him. He's always respectful. He always gives people an ear. Some people just want to talk. They just want advice. So I always take that into consideration on just how we treat people. I think those are the very, very, very key drivers in terms of how we operate as a business. Respect is the main thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is so special. So can you talk me through Lebolex and how you guys have grown? You guys have been open for 11 years.
Yeah.
That is a legacy business. It's over a decade old and hopefully grows even more and more in the future.
100%.
But you spoke about how you started in maintenance, then sort of started expanding, and now I'm assuming you guys are expanding across the continent. But you also mentioned that it is a very saturated industry. And so how do you guys navigate that?
Well, we look at the things that each sector needs. So if we going for contracts in the private sector, we look at what drives them. What are they looking for? Obviously, they're looking at more of your sustainability. They're looking at your service delivery. They're looking at all those things that drive them. And you look at the public sector. Public sector is managing a budget. They're trying to get it for as cheap as possible, but also getting a very good service, because obviously they are accountable to us as the public. So you're always looking at how can I cultivate and give them a solution that is specific for them. And one way in which we try to navigate this industry is coming up with solutions that are very new. So years ago when we had the AXA contract, one thing that we came up with was having mobile workshops. So we thought, no, how about we get an Iveco and we kit it out with a full workshop. So from your compressor to your generator to all the tools that you would need, and be able to service vehicles on site. So this cut down, especially on downtime. We were able to reduce the downtime for these businesses, be able to service them on site while the vehicle is sleeping, while the people are gone. We come in and we do the services. So that maximizes on the value that the customer will get. So those are some of the things that we have come up with that have put us apart from the rest. And obviously people have seen that over the years and have taken that on as well. And now you're seeing a lot more mobile workshops around the country. Right. People are starting to give customers that solution, because it's very important that you try and see where you can find a gap in the market, a need. Because a lot of people, they don't want the hassle of getting up, because getting up and going to the dealership and dropping the vehicle off for service, that takes time. Because now you're not only taking the driver out, there has to be another driver accompanying him to pick him up and take him back to work. So those two vehicles now that are out of service for even that hour and a half, or that full day, where we can just say, you know what, we can take 5 or 10 vehicles. Overnight, we can do all those services. In the morning, the vehicle is serviced and everything. The customer just starts the car and just starts driving. And that we minimize that downtime. So you always got to find a way to give them solutions that are very tailor-made for them. Yeah.
And also, like, make yourself different from if it is so saturated, if it is such a closed community. I'm sure anything that makes you stick out a little bit.
It helps.
And also having the trust of your customers, right? So
100%.
that they move when you move, and they trust their assets essentially with you guys, which I'm sure is very stressful. So something I thought was really interesting was how you spoke about how COVID actually presented an opportunity for you guys, which I think is such a unique perspective, because everybody looks at it as doom and gloom, but so much innovation came out. And it's not to say that it wasn't terrible and bad, because it was terrible and bad, but so many entrepreneurs were able to pivot and rise again, right? And so how did you guys manage that?
So the one thing that really kept us going was that we had at least one major contract that we were able to keep ourselves sustained from, which was the Airports Company South Africa contract at the time. What was nice about that contract is it didn't really need us to have our own building as much as we had. So at the time we had 3 workshops, one based in Pretoria, one in Joburg, and then one in Didier. We had to pivot from that, and immediately when COVID hit, we were like, you know what, let's close down 2 of them. So we closed down 2 workshops and we consolidated our business to Joburg. But even in that, we moved away from Joburg entirely and we moved closer to where we all stayed, because we all stay in the East Rand.
Okay.
So we were like, okay, let's close down all 3 branches. Let's open up a super branch. So one big branch that we will minimize on overhead costs and just have customer focused, because we were closer to the airport, being in the East Rand,
right,
which is where our main customer was. So we're like, no, we need to give them a solution that will tailor-made for them, but also cut down on our side. So COVID forced us to think differently. So we just said, you know what, let's open up the workshop, just one workshop, and then what we can do is have a mobile workshop with it. So we just had a mobile workshop with that vehicle, with that workshop, and whenever the customer needed something, we were able to do it on site. If we couldn't do it on site, we had a nice group of dealerships and service centers around us that were around the airport that we used strategically. We maintained, we look at the track record in terms of customer service delivery and all that stuff, customer satisfaction, and service delivery. And so we looked at that, and then we were like, you know what, COVID, as much as it was horrible, it made us think differently, because we did not want to dwell on the fact that we've lost so much. We wanted to dwell on the fact that what can we do to succeed in this climate?
Right.
So it just forces you to think differently. And so we were forced to think differently.
I love that. And also just saying, we have the ability to pivot. We're agile. We're not stuck in our ways, because I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs had the downfall in COVID, was the rigid systems that needed to remain the same. And while systems and having set ways of doing things are really good for a business, because you learn and you are able to perfect those systems, I think COVID showed us that there always needs to be room for innovation. There always needs to be room for change, or for even shifting the smallest thing, right? So I'm imagining closing 3 branches is a really big thing, but then moving closer to you makes so much more sense, because you're like, oh, we're at the airport. Why didn't we do this so much earlier? So I really like how you guys used the difficult situation to not reshape your business, but just enhance it, which is really special to see. So something I'm always interested about is you as a level 1B supplier, and obviously we live in South Africa, it's an election year, B is always a big topic. So how do you guys navigate that for advocating for ESD for yourself, for entering into spaces where it can be closed off to the market, or where black faces don't really exist? How do you guys find that you are able to trust your partners and they're able to trust you? And also, I guess, how are you guys navigating the space as a whole?
So it's very we are black owned and black female majority owned, which is which is very, very important to us, because you look at the most disadvantaged people. So those two have been especially disadvantaged in this country. So when we operate, especially one thing our logo says is amazingly superior quality. So we understand that we are not only doing it for ourselves. When we do things in whatever fashion, whichever company that we are providing a service for, whichever tender or whatever that we might be tendering for, or whatever, we know that when we get the vehicle, when we get the work, that we're not doing it for ourselves. We are ushering a group of companies with us, because we understand that when people see us, they don't see Lebolex as a company. They're seeing a black company, and how this black company operates in terms of their service delivery to us.
Sure.
So, and we understand that if we don't give them the right service, we don't provide the right solutions for them, they will be hesitant to give another black person, another black company, the same chance, the same opportunities that we were being given. So whenever we get an opportunity to provide an excellent service or to have a good interaction with someone, another business, we make sure that we give them the best interaction, best service, value for money for when they're dealing with us. So we make sure that our values, which are centered around Christian values, we make sure that those come through in terms of how we deal with people, how we treat our staff, how we treat the customer, and how we treat our suppliers as well.
Right.
So we just make sure that we navigate and give them a perspective very different to what they think that they're going to get in terms of dealing with a black company. People always complain about quality and service, so we're trying to change that narrative, especially in an industry such as this, because as much as it's saturated, there's not a lot of us in terms of black owned companies in this industry. So when we are there, we need to make sure that our voices are heard and our service is optimal.
And I think the weight of what you're saying is felt by a lot of black companies across industries, right? We're trying to put our best foot forward because you know that there will be people who come after you. You know that the way that you interact here will impact whether or not more voices are allowed to come in. And I don't think that that's a small thing. And I think that it's really sad as well that we're walking with that weight and trying to work in a system that doesn't necessarily always advocate for us. But I think that it's really lovely to hear how you guys are entering in and how you guys are making yourself present and saying that, fine, we are a BE.
100%, because another thing that, especially looking at Alfred, he's ushered in so many people that are running these businesses that are our competitors at the moment. So we always come from it from that point, because we understand that, okay, as much as they are a company that is 80, 100 years old, but the people running it, they learn from him most of the time.
Right.
So you understand that you're going to get the best service from us, because we created the blueprint that you guys are operating under at the moment. So we go in there with that mentality that we deserve to be here. We need to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so important. It's also stating your claim to your legacy, to your brand, to your name. And
100%.
I think legitimacy in any industry is so important.
Yeah.
And having a legacy brand, having a legacy person shifts that game completely. I mean, we've had so many entrepreneurs who sat on this couch who are doing such dynamic things and unfortunately haven't been able to have this generational transfer or this name behind them. So they really are going at it alone, essentially. And a lot of them have met a lot of success, but there is a legitimacy when you're coming from something that has been birthed in excellence.
Yeah.
You're not having to, I guess, prove yourself every step of the way. You're able to say, but look at our track record and 100%. Look at how we react now. Okay, so something I really like to do, because like I said, you're industry is so different from mine, but maybe it's not even going to be that. We like to ask our entrepreneurs if there is anybody or any show or any company that you have your eye on that you think deserves a shout out that we should maybe look into, because we always say like we should give people their flowers and nobody knows every space, and so we've learned about so many cool entrepreneurs from our guests. So Is there anybody on your radar?
Well, when I look at the space that we're in as entrepreneurs, it's very difficult for us to get funding.
Right.
So when you look at this, you look at how when we do get the contract, the challenge begins, because now you need to service that contract. And the most important thing that I found that hinders us, or that's the biggest stumbling block, is having that initial cash flow. So a business that has helped us a lot, or businesses that have helped us a lot, there are two that have really, really pushed us in terms of providing the support that we need, especially in the Thai industry. There are two. There's a business called Tire Point, which actually has helped us quite a lot now. Sumitomo, South Africa. Sumitomo Tires produces Dunlop.
Whoa.
And they produce, so they are the manufacturers of Dunlop. So they have given us a support in a big way in terms of being able to supply orders nationally. They give us that national footprint because they deliver anyway. So we don't have to worry about logistical issues and stuff like that in terms of the tire supplier. But one business that really helped us a lot was Business Partners. They helped us a lot in terms of funding this project.
Right.
For the tires. They've helped us so much in terms of navigating through funding and giving us a solution that obviously they will make the profit that they deserve, but they're not killing us. We're not feeling so stifled, to push for month end. The amount that we have agreed on, it's so fair. And so we've seen that they have actually helped quite a lot of the businesses, because even some of our business associates that we work with, they also have dealt with Business Partners, and Business Partners have given them solutions. So I think they've been a shining beacon in terms of especially Black entrepreneurs. I would give them a shout out. Definitely, if you're having funding issues, contact them and see what solutions they can provide for you, because they really have been a benefit to us. Yeah.
I love that. I'm definitely going to go look up the Thai company that you said as well.
Yeah.
We're hopefully having a few of the Business Partners people come on our show. So
Awesome.
I think it's always really good to hear about how people are going on their journey, and also people or organizations who have helped you along the way, because there could be somebody watching who has the same issue. So yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
The last question we have for you, I always think it's really special, is what is a piece of advice that somebody has given you in your entrepreneurial journey, or something that you always tell entrepreneurs on their journey that you think that we should hear?
So the main thing, I think the piece of advice that I was given very early on is the world meets no one halfway, meaning that don't expect handouts in terms of whatever you do. Yes, you will get help along the way, but don't expect the help. Appreciate the help when it is given. The advice that I normally give to young entrepreneurs is perseverance and endurance, because you'll probably get 100 doors slammed on your face, but the one door that opens up, that's the opportunity that you're waiting for. So don't lose faith, don't lose hope, keep to your principles, don't lose your morality, because this industry will swallow you up. When you start making a bit of money, do not change from who you are. Understand why you started the business. Maintain those core values throughout the journey, whether it's high or low. Maintain those core values, whatever they are to you.
Solid pieces of advice. I think both exist in a way to remind entrepreneurs, and I say this every show, but it's not a linear journey. And as much as we would like to get from A to B in the most smooth fashion, the reality is just not that, and sometimes it does feel like you're thugging it out and you're getting nowhere.
100%.
But there are fruits, right? You guys are an example of fruits of your labor, and so I think that's always so special to remind entrepreneurs to just keep trying.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So where can they find you guys?
So we do have a website. It's www.lebolex.co.za. You can just have a look at what our product offering is from a fleet management space. Otherwise, we do have a Facebook account. It is a bit old, but I'm trying to maintain it. But otherwise, just on our website, on our emails, it's info@lebolex.co.za. If you have any questions or anything, you can find us on there.
Perfect. And you guys can like, share, subscribe. Please tell a friend to listen to ECAfrica. These entrepreneurs have such special stories, all dynamically different, all in different industries. And I've learned so much conducting these interviews. So I hope that they will impact you guys in a positive way. So yeah, thank you so much for being here again.
Thank you so much.
I hope it wasn't too stressful. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks. Bye.